Hello everyone and welcome back to the 3T Path channel. My name is Giridhari and today we're continuing with our Gita Mahatmya series. The Gita Mahatmya is from the Padma Purana and these beautiful sequences of stories of Lord Shiva explaining to Parvati the glories and the power of the Bhagavad Gita. And today we're doing the power of chapter 14, and it's a very nice story. The last story, chapter 13, was a bit heavy, but this one is quite nice, so I think you will enjoy it. And this is how it goes. Sri Shiva said, "O Parvati, kindly hear from me the glories of the 14th chapter of the Srimad Bhagavad Gita with the greatest attention. In Simhaldweep, there was a king called Vikram Bittal. One day, when he was going to the forest hunting, he took his son and 2 hunting dogs along with him. When he reached the forest, he released one of the dogs to chase a rabbit. When that dog was chasing it, the rabbit looked as if it was flying. Running and running, the rabbit reached a beautiful hermitage, which was very peaceful. The deer were sitting happily under the shade of the trees, and the monkeys were joyfully eating the fruits of those trees. The cubs of the tigers were playing with baby elephants, and the snakes were crawling over the peacocks. In this forest, the great sage Vatsa lived. He worshipped Sri Krishna by reciting the 14th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. Near the ashram of Maharaj Vatsa, one of his disciples was washing his feet while chanting the 14th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. The earth at that spot became wet. Just then, that rabbit came running and slipped in the mud. Immediately, that rabbit attained a heavenly body. An airplane came down, picked him up, and took him off to the heavenly planets. After a moment, the dog arrived there in search of the rabbit, and he also slipped in the mud, gave up the dog body, and attained a heavenly body, and was also taken off to the heavenly planets. Seeing all this, the disciple of Maharaj Vatsa started to laugh. King Vikram Bittal, having witnessed those amusing events, inquired from the Brahmana, "How is it possible that the rabbit and the dog went off to heaven in front of our eyes?" The Brahmana said, "In this forest, a great sage called Vatsa, who has completely conquered his senses, is always engaged in chanting the 14th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. I am his disciple, and I'm also, by his grace, always engaged in chanting the 14th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. Due to that rabbit and dog slipping in the mud which had been made wet from the water which had washed my feet, they both attained the higher planets. Now I will tell you the reason why I was laughing. In Maharashtra, there's a town called Pratudak. A Brahmana there by the name of Keshava lived there. He was the most cruel of men. His wife's name was Vilobhana. She was a very loose lady who always enjoyed the company of other men. For this reason, her husband became very angry and killed her. In her next life, she became that dog. And the Brahmana Keshava, due to his sinful activities, he became that rabbit. So this is a nice little karmic consequence story. So this he was a Brahmana, again, he had the chance to do great things as a Brahmana, but he was just an angry, horrible person. And then he marries a wife who was not being very careful with her dharma either, and was sleeping around. And he gets angry and kills her. So then he gets really bad karma, gets sinful karma for killing his wife. So it's a good example, because we've seen in the past story, in chapter 13, we also had a very loose lady, and she suffered horribly. But her husband was pious and didn't get angry and didn't hurt her, so he didn't have any sinful complications. So never a good idea to act on anger and to try to get revenge. This is not high thinking. We should keep our focus always on Dharma, no matter what. So they switched positions. She became the dog because she was chasing him for killing her because he killed her. So now this was her chance to kill him. That's how the law of karma works. They explain it. You switch roles around. It's like, oh yeah, you want to do that? Well, now you experience the other side of that thing you're doing, which you shouldn't be doing. So you get a mirror put in front of you to experience your past actions and choices. So anyway, so these rabbits, and what happened with them, it's interesting that they didn't get like liberation. This couple who had become a rabbit and a dog, they didn't achieve spiritual liberation. They achieved, though, the cleansing of their sins just from slipping in the mud of the water that washed the feet of the sage that was chanting in the 14th chapter. Because they came in contact with that pure water, they got rid of all their sins. And so they had changed, so they got a beautiful bodies, heavenly bodies with the demigods. So it's still a material birth, but is a wonderful upgrade from a rabbit and dog life on earth. So they got that from chanting, from just being in the water of the sage who chanted the 14th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. Sri Shiva said, after hearing the glories of the 14th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, King Vitrambita also began daily reciting the 14th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. And he gave up that body. He went to Vaikuntha, where he was able to engage eternally in the service of the lotus-eyed Sri Vishnu. So now, those who were actually chanting the 14th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, they attained liberation. So the king learned the chapter, and then he attained liberation at the end of his karmic cycle here as a king. Now, so that's how the story ends. And the 14th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita is about the gunas. It's where Krishna teaches us about material nature, the three gunas, tamas, rajas, and sattva. It's where Krishna teaches us how the material nature influences the mind, and thus the importance of you having a lifestyle, a yogic lifestyle, which gives you the maximum benefit, the maximum potential for expanding your mind in yoga. You need sattva. You need the right material condition to be able to have the proper spiritual growth and expansion of your mind. So the very important chapter, I hope you do read it. It's very important. I tell my students the first thing you have to do is to get sattva right. The first thing you have to do in your path, in your journey of improvement, of self-realization, self-improvement, the first thing is sattva. Get your sattva straight, sattvic diet, sattvic bodily habits, association, all these details. Get that right first. Well, that's it. I hope you enjoyed it. If you have any questions, leave your questions below, and have your rest of your day with lots of peace and lots of love.